Welcome back. This is ENCA. Well, with the country still under lockdown, some things are continuing, including filing your tax returns. What does that they say about certainties, death and taxes? Yes, the tax season is underway, although the process is largely being done differently due to COVID-19. To share in how and if you should be filing your tax return or you should not be is Nathaniel Mabetwa from SARS, and he joins us now for that conversation. So, Nathaniel, thank you for talking to me. The situation around filing of taxes, it's tax season. You're here to tell me that I won't have an excuse in the next few months of saying, look, there was a lockdown, things were hard, we were not allowed to go to the SARS office in Randburg, and I was not able to file my tax returns.
Absolutely. You're not going to have that excuse. Thank you very much, Tules, for this opportunity. Good day to you and to the viewers at home. We have issued about 3.6 million auto-assessments. These went out at the beginning of September to all people who would have received data from their third parties, so insurance companies, banks, and so on. And we issued out auto-assessments. What this means is that it means that you have been assessed by us, and you need to indicate whether you accept that assessment or not. All right? So about 3.6 million people received these, and we expect that they will indicate whether they're accepting the assessment or they want to amend it. If they want to amend it, they would have to go on to e-filing or Mobi app and then amend the assessment that went out to them.
So those 3.6 million auto-assessments done, what does that leave you with, assuming that the bulk of those people will accept the auto-assessment? What does that leave you with in terms of the workload of those that still need to actually file? And I presume here it's mostly through e-filing.
It's mostly through e-filing, and I'll come back to that just now. But so far, out of those that were auto-assessed, the 3.6 million, we've received about 1.5 million so far. All right? But remember, they still have until the 16th of November to file using e-filing. Anybody who actually expects to be assisted by the branch office, and although that is going to be done through the appointment system, those people have until the 22nd of October, which is in a few weeks' time, for them to file their returns. But yes, so we'll still have quite a lot that still needs to come through. And we want to encourage people to really get this done as soon as possible.
Remind us again, Nathaniel, who got an auto-assessment? What was the criteria that you used to say, for these taxpayers, we're simply going to issue an auto-assessment, and who is getting a return that they now have to actively engage with in terms of, amending and sort of filling out whatever missing information?
Yeah. Remember, so people where we have data from third parties. So we get data from medical aid, we get data from the banks, the insurance companies, and so on, and from the employers as well. All right. So where we have that data, and it's a simple return. So you have one source of income, which is employment. You contribute to a medical aid. You have one or two other deductions and so on. But we have data from third parties that SARS would have. So those people would have received that auto-assessment that would be sent to them. Also take into account with us that they would have to either indicate whether they are accepting it or not. So they still have an opportunity to say to us, look, we don't accept, and therefore we want to amend by doing the following things. All right? If they want to accept, they just indicate that they accept the assessment. And when that happens, it goes through the process. In terms of finalizing the assessment and making sure that the refund is paid if there was a refund, or they actually have to pay.
And you are aware of I certainly saw a wave of unhappiness at the point at which many of these auto-assessments were being made. Did you make mistakes in the process and basically, I don't know if there's a word, misassessed people, basically assessed people incorrectly?
Look, there are a couple of people who have indicated that they wanted to add one or two things in terms of the assessment. That's why we give taxpayers an opportunity, to say either amend or accept, because we do accept that there would be one or two things that would miss, but taxpayers have an opportunity to then engage us to make sure that the assessment is accurate from their side.
And in terms of the e-filing processes, rather, let me ask you a different question because I'm completely out of time. Being at SARS at the level at which you are, and I know you're not the official spokesperson for SARS, and neither are you the commissioner for SARS, but I imagine this must be a conversation you have in the leadership of SARS. Tax morality is a concept that you talk about from time to time. We are in the in the midst of a number of arrests in the country, which many people are welcoming, but they relate to abuses of the country's taxes and what people contribute to sort of make this country better through their taxes. I mean, an example being 255 million rand for the tax for the asbestos roofing audit and removal in the Free State. That gets people angry. South Africans are really angry about the abuse of their taxes. If someone is sitting at home and saying, why should I continue to do the right thing and help these fat cats to be able to afford yet another Maserati, to afford another Aston Martin, another Porsche? What do you say to someone like that in 2020?
Look, tax morality is something that we all have to start thinking about and taking seriously, because remember that money that you pay for tax pays for the roads, it pays for a clinic down the road, it also pays for the schools.
If it makes it that far, it does.
Well, it's not. Those would be isolated cases. But generally, the country has to run, and we have to be compliant. We have to be good fiscal citizens, and make sure that we pay our share so that our country can be the best country out there or ever. But at the same time, if there are people who are not paying their fair share, SARS will do what it needs to do in terms of making sure that we bring those to book, and we're continuing to do that.
Yeah, and in fairness to you, you've been part of the investigations that have been happening. I know for a fact that, for instance, around the personal protective equipment tenders, you've assisted the other law enforcement agencies. Nathaniel Mabetwa, thank you so much for coming through and talking to us about tax filing season. Remember, the clock is ticking in as far as the filing of those tax returns. If you've been auto-assessed, you have until sometime in November, the date that Nathaniel was mentioning, for you to indicate whether you accept the assessment or you reject it. If you are doing an actual appointment to go to a SARS office, well, you have just a week and a half or so left before you actually need to do that in terms of filing your tax returns.